All right. So the syndicate posts and retweets should be going out in. Yep, should be going out now. I had it scheduled. So we'll go ahead and get started. But Hayes, thank you so much for being here. This is Making Time, a show for creators by creators, where we interview people in Solana about their journey here, whether how they started in Web3, their journey through crypto and NFTs, and kind of what their story is. So Hayes, I'm going to go ahead. Well, before I begin, once again, please click on the top of the space or the bottom right hand corner and like, comment, and retweet on the space. That way we can get some more people in here to learn more about Hayes. But other than that, Hayes, how has your day been, man?
Pretty good, thanks for asking. I actually just came back from a run. Other than that, I minted Talos, the pilot, so that was pretty cool. Waiting to flip that.
Yeah, that's a huge W, man. Like I was a little bit disconnected from the space, so I never applied for the tile pilots or anything. But definitely big L on my part. So glad you were able to catch a W one way or another. But sounds like you're doing good so far. So I'll go ahead and hop into my first question for you, Hayes. How did you get into crypto and Web3?
So kind of a funny story. I went to visit my cousin in Florida. I recently moved to the south, so I was a couple hours away from him. Figured I'd take a drive and see what he's up to. I haven't seen him for years. And he started telling me about all his like little side hustles he's getting into, like NFTs, trading crypto, this, that, and the third. Um, myself personally, I was looking for a high risk venture that I can invest a little bit of money into, and then set my goals and my risk management accordingly, and just kind of see where it goes. And he started showing me this, and this was around the time of the Sweets Mint, I believe. And he didn't hit personally, but he showed me like how Twitter works, the Discord, Magic Eden, the whole nine. And I'm just watching this shit, and I see like a guy selling executive suite for what was like 3K at the time in terms of sold at like $100. And I saw a guy sell a magical picture on the internet for 3K, and I was like, I want in on this. So that's how it started.
Yeah, dude, the Sweets Mint. When was that? Like in November, or I don't remember when exactly that was. Was
This was back in January, I believe.
Oh, January. Okay, yeah, yeah, but that's some OG stuff. Yeah, back when Solana was still was worth 10 times the amount it's worth now. Yeah, so definitely interesting. So what made you want, like, why were you seeking a high risk venture? Like why were you wanting to kind of put money into something like crypto?
Mostly because I don't know, for lack of a better term, I have like that Kobe Bryant mentality. I feel I have that lack of complacency, and I don't feel like I'm doing good enough in the place that I'm in. Even though I am. So I kind of wanted to pour gasoline on the fire and just say like, you know, when I started this, I took $700 and I put it into this, and I was like, "This is all the money that I'm putting into it. I'm not taking anything else out from my bank account. $700 put in there, let it rock, see what happens." It was just like one of those kind of situations where I wanted to make the most out of something that I thought could be something, because I just kept seeing it everywhere. I kept seeing, all these ETH mints on Instagram, the Mark Cubans of the world talking about it, and I just said, "Fuck it."
Yeah, for sure. You start seeing some of those advertisements or people talking about V talking about it or whatever, and then it kind of entices you to take that risk and maybe put in some capital and see what happens. So, and it's definitely enticing when you start seeing these people make like 30 grand off of an NFT. Like you said, your cousin made 3 grand off of selling an executive suite. Like that it gets a little bit dangerous, It starts making you feel like maybe I can do that, maybe I can make a bunch of money doing that. So for sure. So you got into Web3 and crypto through your cousin. You're looking for some high risk kind of thing. So what ended up getting you into the community management and kind of moderator side of Web3?
So that part was actually really exciting for me. One of the first few mints that I participated in was Iternate, and I kept kind of seeing the moderators on the side of the Discord chat, and the founders and everyone there, and that kind of intrigued me more than this whole situation with NFTs because I wanted to know where these people came from and who was paying them. And when I come to find out that it was a paying position, I immediately wanted to jump into it because it was kind of a loophole for me. It was a way of kind of injecting capital into this and rolling my bag without me actually having to put money into it. One of my businesses that I have right now is e-commerce. So in terms of, just opportunity costs, it worked out perfectly because I'm going to be in front of the computer regardless. So it just made sense for me to build my bag. And then as I continue to get involved, I just really enjoyed being a part of the community and kind of networking and meeting different people.
Yeah, so I know you're currently working with Don't Fuck with Felines through Trust, and that's a fantastic team there. I've worked on that team as well. So I'm curious, like, was that your first adventure into community management, or did you have any prior experience before doing that?
No, Don't Fuck with Felines was my first. And Doc pretty much just pulled me to the side and he was like, yo, I think you're going to be perfect for this and you should interview with Spoon. And that was kind of just how it happened.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a tried and true saying, your network is your net worth. I hate how cliche it is, but the people lead you to these awesome opportunities, whether that be community management or being a moderator, or in my case, doing Discord design and security, right? So it's really interesting to see how that worked out. So my question for you is, how did you end up meeting Doc and Spoon, and then ended up yielding the opportunity you have now?
Yeah, so um, a big part of like my lifestyle in general is based off of networking. And my cousin, when he first got me involved, he got me introduced into Sniper DAO. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's one of the many alphas in this space. And being part of them and kind of just realizing how an alpha works, I kind of developed an addiction for it. And I just kept joining all these different alphas because they work differently than a project, in my opinion. They typically have more retention. There's more people in it. You see the same people, like Albertor right here, Al, my guy. He's from Playmaker DAO, another one. And that to me is just like a big part of the networking because in those alphas, you just see the same people and you're constantly working around and talking to these people. And you see them in different projects as well. And you kind of grow with these people. And I was just on Twitter one day and I saw like a mint link for Trust DAO, and I was like, "Ooh, DAO, click buy," and that was it. And just showing face in there every day, talking shit, making people laugh. I just involved myself with the community, and just took it from there. Oh, he died. I guess the spaces got rugged.
Dude, I don't know what happened. My phone died. I got rugged. I'm so sorry about that. It's the first time that's happened to me so far. But we're back. We're back. Okay, so I missed a little bit, so I might need you to recap a little bit. So you were saying you saw the trust endowment happening, and you're like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna mint this. So continue from there. What happened after that?
Yeah, I just pretty much saw that it was a DAO. I popped into it. I had a few chats with a couple guys. Yeah, and I was like, fuck it, I bought in. And, like I was mentioning previously, you're there, you see the same faces, you get involved with the community, and then, you just kind of build connections from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're 100% correct. There is a different culture when it comes to these DAOs that are centered. They're just centered around something a little bit different than traditional kind of like projects. Like whenever it comes to things like Blocksmith or Tayo or whatever, although there is a community there, there's a business behind it, right? But whenever you have these DAOs that are more alpha oriented, they're more community oriented, you start to see more people more often and get to know them at a very personal level. So I definitely agree with you. One thing I do want to ask you is, So you kind of got engaged in these alpha communities and have really you kind of wormed your way in. And I'm curious, how would you say that these Web3 communities are different than the communities you have in real life or in Web 2?
Um, I think the biggest thing that's different is that there's no societal or economical boundaries. And what I mean by that is like, I live in my town, in my state, and for the most part, I'm surrounded by, a certain kind of demographic. There might be different kinds of people, from different walks of life here and there. But when you're online, you're meeting people from around the world. You could be talking to a billionaire philanthropist and, they just have a random picture of an animal. You never know who you're going to meet online, even more so than like in real life. Because I feel like there's certain barriers to just living and walking around and meeting different people.
Yeah, and I would agree, right? When it comes to Web3, you do remove some level of society boundaries, right? Like it's easier to be engaged with people at social levels because maybe you there's no longer a worry of maybe I'm not physically attractive or maybe I'm not the right height or maybe there's something about me people might worry about. And here in Web3, it's just a PFP. You're some cat with the shark on its head. I'm a I guess a monkey derivative. You know what I'm saying? Like you kind of work past that and are able to kind of cultivate an identity that's true to you rather than the circumstances you can't control. So I would agree. I would also mention, like, especially in Web3, there's a supreme lack of care of geographic location, right? Like, I'm in Oklahoma. I think you're on the East Coast, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so like I would have never met you, right? That's like a 4 hour flight or something, and dude, I don't got the money for a flight, bro. Like I barely got enough money for my illiquid JPEGs. So I would have never met you, but over the Twitter, over the culture that's been happening in Web3, that's able to happen. So something I'm curious about is in your journey as kind of becoming a community manager and getting the roles you had and being involved in trust, like who do you think were the most impactful people in your Web3 journey?
Uh, it's definitely a short list, but I think I have like a rough top five, and one of them is definitely my cousin who put me on to begin with. Um, Another one would probably be AU Mob, if I'm saying it correctly. He is the community manager for iTrade, and he kind of kicked me off in a direction of my employment career, if you will, in Web3. Um, Al, who was here in the Twitter, definitely, we've collaborated since pretty much I started in this. So like him and I have been back and forth on a lot of different things. And Spoon and Doc, because they've really held it down and worked with me and really helped me develop myself here and continue to.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like in any industry, doesn't matter if it's Web3, Web 2, or real life or whatever. Like you always need that support system. Those people you can rely on. Those people who always be looking out for you. And I'm glad you're able to say that you had that because not a lot of people do. Right? They come into Web3 and they're, I guess you could say, socially broke. Right? They don't really have those connections, those network, and it's hard to make that from the ground up and build something strong to help you succeed as a person. So no, that's fantastic. So it's interesting to hear more about your Web3 journey, but I am a little bit interested in your Web 2 background. You did mention you have a e-commerce company. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I can't really get into too many specifics on it. Um, but I've been doing it for about 3 years now, and there's a similar journey to Web3 where I don't know. I guess 700 is a weird number because it started as a side hustle that again I invested $700 into, and I was working 9 to 5 at the time, and I was just bouncing around trying to figure my shit out. I was going through college, and I was going to college for business administration, and it didn't make sense to me. Especially when I figured out that you can incorporate a business with no degree, no prior knowledge, and hire someone that has a degree. It just didn't add up for me. Um, so yeah, I eventually took this side hustle and wound up making it full time, and eventually, got the ability to quit my job. Um, I moved down here because I had a business previously with someone else, my right hand man, and unfortunately, regulations killed the industry where I was living previously. So, we linked up down the line down here, and now we got a smoke shop that we have, and we're trying to build that up and start that get that going. Um, and that's really where I'm at right now.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, I think it's funny you said uh, you have a affinity for $700, right? You took $700 not only in crypto but in a like your side hustle, your Web3 e-commerce, or sorry, your e-commerce company, and then built that into something amazing. So, have you always been this kind of entrepreneurial, or is this something that's just happened more recently in your life?
I've always been this entrepreneurial. It just took me a while to find a legitimate application for it, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I come from a very similar situation, right? Like, whenever I went through high school and college, I had a completely different outlook on life. I thought I was going to be all about education. My whole goal was to be the Secretary of Education. And now here I am hosting an NFT show on Twitter. So it's interesting. This comes up in every space that I've had, but you can never connect the dots looking forwards, but you can always connect them looking back. It all makes sense looking backwards. So did you ever expect to take the plunge into Web3, or when you were younger, did you have other plans of how you'd be spending your time?
I mean, I think when we're all younger, we have different plans. It was just, for me, like you said, I was definitely looking through the scope of, I guess, just a general framework that everyone is expected to live under. You grow up, you get a 9 to 5, you do your thing, you get a house, and you just go to college and do that whole thing. And I was trying to go to college and trying to learn how to work in management and do that whole thing, and at the same time go legit and move away from the kind of things that are keeping me in trouble. Um, and yeah, it just, I don't know. I feel like I just feel like it's a big joke because there's so many different ways to make money that are just not taught to people that people need to learn, and it's just it's not something to be afraid of.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's definitely starting to become more normalized in our culture, but I think especially for some of these older generations, it was expected that you'd kind of get out of college, like you'd go to college, get out of it, get a 9 to 5, live a stable life, and then die with a white picket fence and a dog. That was the American dream. But as societies move forward and there's been a lot more opportunity presented to everybody, there's so many more alternatives to income and revenue generation, right? You can do side hustles, you can do e-commerce stores, you can get involved in crypto, you can flip stuff, flip shoes, flip garage sales. Like, there's a lot of different ways to be resourceful, right? And I think that's very interesting. So one question I have for you is, so you've kind of taken this path of being an entrepreneur and owning your own businesses and kind of these alternative revenue streams. How would you say your life is different than your peers who might be working a 9 to 5?
Um, I'd say it's different, maybe just in the sense that I have financial freedom, to the extent where like I can control my day because I make my own money that I use to pay my own bills. And if I don't do what I'm doing, I don't make money, and then I go broke and I'm homeless. But outside of that, I mean, all my friends are all happy in their own lives, doing what they got to do. For me, I really needed that freedom.
Yeah, so of course it's a different person by person. Maybe some people do flourish in a 9 to 5, right? That's just how their brain works. That's how they're able to operate on the day to day. And then for other people, they need that freedom, like the ability to be their own boss or something along that line. So it's definitely a journey, and it's up to the person to really find what works to them and what doesn't work for them. So for sure. So interesting. So it's interesting to hear about your experience and how you did this e-commerce thing and that worked, right? That ended up actually working out for you, and you've taken this path into Web3 that's, you could argue, is working out for you as well. So has there been times in your life where you created a business or something like that and it failed?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I my my buddy that I'm talking about at the smoke shop with now, our first business venture together was back in New York, and it was a wholesale vapor distribution for e-liquid. Um, Back when vape was very popular, unfortunately, New York State regulations essentially killed the trend entirely. Um, that money that I used to invest in that business, actually, I was thinking about using it in Bitcoin, but instead I lost about 10 grand on that business.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Well, what was it like a long time ago? Was it like 2008 or was it more recent than that?
About 10 years ago, I want to say.
Oh yeah, so you would have been chilling if you bought some Bitcoin there. It's a little bit tragic, but I mean it is what it is. It's a so whenever you were doing that, and you said you kind of got screwed by New York State regulations or New York City. I'm not sure exactly which one it would be, but what were like the key lessons you learned from that experience?
Um, the key lessons that I learned were to not overinvest, not put all your eggs in one basket, and just be very wary of who you put yourself around, and also be wary of what you get invested in. You know, because a lot of these kind of like red tape industries are not good to start off a business with for anybody unless you're putting real money up against it. And red tape industries are just anything that have any kind of social stigma to it, like marijuana, alcohol, you know, vape stuff, anything like that, because merchant services are high. It's hard to secure bank loans or just a checking account. There's a lot of shit that comes with it.
Yeah, I remember I was talking to my CPA when we were doing one of our NFT or sorry high voltage, and she made a lot of analogies between like NFT and crypto banking and the state of that and the state of like marijuana businesses and how it's federally legal and you can't have bank accounts and it's the total disaster. So I totally understand that there should be some level of weariness and kind of careful calculatedness. I'm not sure for lack of better terms. But when it comes to these more risky red tape industries you do mention. So one thing you did mention that I thought was very important is working with people or surrounding yourself with people that are kind of well this isn't exactly what you said but surround yourself with good people more or less. So did you have experiences where you were surrounded by a bad crowd, and if so how did you kind of get out of that?
Yeah, I mean, most of my life was that, to be honest with you. I mean, for a long time, like I kind of just been in a rut doing the same things, the same people, and the same bad neighborhoods. And as I was kind of going through my own journey, trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do, it just so happened that someone else who was making bad decisions with me decided to become an illicit business partner with me, and then that person decided to become my legitimate business partner at some point down the road. So he was like the one person in this crowd that kind of met my mentality, and it just kind of pushed me to start thinking more in that direction. And I kind of just lost that sense of complacency. And as much as it sucks, because I'm still loyal to all my friends, I still love all the people that I've been around for years. I just had to get away and change my mindset. And him moving was a huge trigger for me because anywhere else I was going, I didn't have anybody anywhere else except for my family in Florida, and I didn't really want to go to them. So, I just shot out of New York to get a whole different mindset and just focus and try to figure out what I was going to do with my life.
Yeah, and I mean, it's sometimes you have those experiences in your life where you lose one person, but maybe it opens up your eyes to a new opportunity or maybe taking another risk on yourself or so on and so forth. So you did mention you kind of grew up with some bad being about around. Dude, I'm tripping over my own words. I apologize about being around bad crowds, right? And maybe being from a bad neighborhood, but you had this one person that was able to help you and kind of help you change your perspective and kind of push yourself. But maybe they moved away or whatever that might be. So my question for you is how has it been moving away from your hometown into this new location wherever you are? Like, has it opened your mind up? How do you feel better, or what is like the positives and negatives of that?
So, I mean, it's better in the sense of my focus. Like my life is essentially my work outside of boxing and working out. I don't really have very much outside influence. I can just kind of focus on what I need to. And I've met some people down here, don't get me wrong, that I kind of click with, but it's just, it's not the same as New York. It doesn't have the same feel. The food down here definitely sucks. Um, I feel like it's definitely a stopgap for me. It's just a place to be to figure out what the next move is, and then take it from there. Because I definitely need to be in more of a like metro area.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, I'm a city guy as it gets for someone from Oklahoma. So it's a little bit difficult for me to be in somewhere that's not like a city area. So I'm able to kind of pick up on what you're saying here. So, but definitely, right? Like maybe sometimes in life, like the next step you make is just setting you up for an even bigger step, right? Like you said, moving out, it's been better for you in sense of focus and maybe setting you up for having a strong future or taking that next opportunity or doing anything like that. So my question for you now is where do you think you're going to be in the next 3 to 5 years?
If I could have it my way, I would really like to be owning a house somewhere in Florida, uh, potentially having a 20-year-old girlfriend and just having money and just being around gold digging bitches. No, let me stop. But definitely at least a house in Florida. I would love to just either go down there and just find a fucking nice little spot and just chill out.
Yeah, man, that sounds fantastic. Just get a house, maybe if you're into dogs, maybe a dog. Kind of hang out, do what you got to do. Take it slow. And that's sometimes some things we need. Especially if you're super active earlier in your life, you just need a break from it all. Take a break, be mindful, and enjoy your time while you still have it. So, hey, so we are coming up to the 30-minute mark, and this has been a super awesome conversation, learning about your journey through crypto, you being involved as a community manager, some people you've been relying on and have learned a lot from, as well as your business experience. So I'll go ahead and ask my last question for you, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But if my question for you is this, if you had to start over in Web3, what would you do differently?
I wouldn't do anything differently, honestly. And it's because I find experience to be extremely valuable. And everything that I've experienced in Web3 up till now, whether it's been negative or positive, has been massively beneficial for just me moving forward in this space.
Yeah, like we are the sum of our mistakes. So one thing I always say is I'm glad I've made every mistake up to this point because if not, I wouldn't have met any of you guys, right? Like it's a part of our story, and it's really important that we embrace the mistakes we make, we embrace the successes we've had, because ultimately that's our story, and that's kind of what led us to where we are today. So Hayes, I just want to thank you so much for taking 30 minutes out of your day to talk to us more about who you are, your experience, and what it's like to be Hayes. This is Making Time, a space where we highlight creators in Web3. Hayes being a community manager for one of my favorite projects, Don't Fuck with Felines. Fantastic team there. I love working with them. Before I go ahead and close out this space, do you have anything else you want to add to the conversation?
No, man, you've been great. I really appreciate your time. And thank you again for having me. It's been awesome.
Yeah, of course, man. We will be having another space tomorrow. We are interviewing. Who are we interviewing? I'm not too sure who we're interviewing tomorrow. I don't have my calendar pulled up. My apologies. But we will have another space tomorrow. And if you are interested in this series, especially you, Hayes, I'd love to have you up on this show again, maybe in a month or two, just to catch up, see what's been going on with you. But if you are interested in learning more creators about the space, we do hold this every day. I co-host it, and it's held by the Syndicate account, so you can just stay up to date with the project there. But I'm going to go ahead and close this space, but thank you guys so much. Hayes, I appreciate you taking your time out of the day to talk to us, and everyone else, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Have a great day, brother.